How I Met World Martial Artist Hall of Fame member TJStorm, star of Godzilla and VR Troopers. It's D&D story time on this, the last day of January, because remember, tomorrow we're starting the No Wizards of the Coast Fresno February, and then that'll spiral right into Mega Power Superhero March. So yeah, what better way to start there than a D&D story, because people seem to enjoy my D&D stories. So let's turn the Wayback Machine way back until, let's see, 60, 70, 1989, 1990, 1991. Yeah, somewhere in the 90s, very early 90s. I was in a role-playing game being run by my friend Tom Lindgren. It was the guy who ran the Avatar trilogy. And in this game, I was playing a character called Ajax Grimrock. And Ajax Grimrock was a very angry dwarf fighter. He was probably one of the more evilest characters I'd ever run. He wasn't really evil, he just wanted to kill everything. He was just angry. You know, his motto was to kill one of everything in the monster book. I was running a second character to a cleric, whose job was basically keeping the rest of the party alive. But for some reason, we were all playing two characters each, but the cleric was my more serious character. And then when we got to combat, I was just send the dwarf in to hit things with his axe. Yeah, he was definitely just combat, just hitting things. So through the course of the many adventures of this character, I made enemies, obviously, including a group of harpies. This is important for the story. So flash forward to a convention where there's an open seat game being run by this very charismatic gentleman, and we sit down. And one of the questions we're each asked is, what's a famous enemy or a monster that our character really hates? And I mentioned the harpies, and Tom is there, and he explains the harpies to the DM, who I'm introduced to as TJStorm. So this is how I met World Martial Arts Hall of Fame member and generally awesome dude, soul brother, TJStorm. So we're playing this game that he's running, this pickup convention game. I'm playing my dwarf. Everybody's playing different characters. Hi, how are you? Because he asked what our most hated enemies were or whatever, he ran a encounter, and part of the encounter was running into one of the harpies that my character had made enemies from in Tom Lindgren's game. So we have this battle, and then there's an aerial battle, and then my character gets scooped up, and oh, there's my neighbor. Howdy, neighbor. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Can't complain.
No.
Right now, everything's good.
Yeah.
So yeah. So my character, Ajax Grimrock fighter, gets scooped up by one of the harpies, and I'm trying to get myself free, and I'm trying to kill her, and I'm trying to fight the harpy. Of course, flashback being 2020, I was like, why didn't I just try and ride her, a harpy? Why didn't I just try and get on this back and ride it? But back then I was just angry, and I was worried I was going to lose my character, and it was just and everybody was laughing, and it was goofy, and I was laughing, and we're getting higher and higher, and I'm trying all these ridiculous ways to kill the harpy and get myself free while still being held by it. And at no point in my thinking pattern did I, of course, think through what would happen when I did kill the harpy, considering how high in the air I was. So eventually the battle between myself and the sky high battle ends, and of course I begin plummeting to my death. And there was another guy there who tried to figure out how fast I was falling and how much damage I would take, because the falling rules get pretty vague when you're being dropped from that incredibly high. So he was like doing falling speed second per second, and then I was like, no, I'm like, it's like something D10 per foot. Just figure that out. How many feet high am I, right? And meanwhile, as a character, my character's scrambling. What have I got? I don't have anything that's gonna save me from falling. Doesn't anybody have a spell they can cast on me? And they're like, you're too far. You're too far. I think they all kind of really wanted to see what would happen. So I tried like crawling in my bag of holding, figuring that would save me. And it's like and so eventually just crash. I impact with the size of a crater, side of a mountain, doing so much damage that I actually end up changing the map. I became an object that was going so fast that my impact created a crater in the side of this mountain, and it was forever after referred to as Ajax Crater. And in fact, TJ changed the map to show this, and every time after, when he brought out the map of the Forgotten Realms, you could see this little dot where it was and I was like, yeah, I'm famous. So I was, part of me was just hilarious, laughing. Another part of me was like, oh, damn, I really like that character. But I mean, yeah, fun, what a way to go. So then we parted ways, and I don't remember how, but somehow one of the guys got my number. So a couple weeks later, I get a phone call. And they're like, do you want to come play D&D with us? And, we met at the convention. So I trudged my way to this house up in the Sepulveda Hills with this amazing view of Sepulveda Canyon, where I guess, hi, good afternoon.
Hi.
TJ was living or staying or renting at the time, and I meet TJ again for the second time, and the other guys, some of which I'd met at the convention, some new ones, and I'm introduced to this campaign that they've been playing for a while, called the Company of the Bull. And TJ had a lot of alternate rules for character creation. He was using the Roll Master stuff for random character creation. So now I didn't know who TJStorm was back then. I mean, I kind of guessed that probably wasn't his real name, but I didn't know who he was, how big he was in the martial arts field at the time, or as a stuntman and sensei, Ishinru karate, actor, voice actor, all that stuff that he was doing back then, even in the 90s. Just some guy that was very charismatic and ran a pretty decent game. So we're there, I show up, you have to roll percentile to see all your character's secrets, and some of them were, open, some of them you didn't know. So like the last couple I had to roll percentile, but I couldn't look on the table, and some of them he didn't tell me. He just wrote down notes and said, like, remember this date and this thing on the note, and maybe you'll find out what it means. He was very mysterious with stuff. That was a big thing of his game, is he never gave anything away for free, but he'd give hints. Like purple fez and the date, and we'd have to write that down. So if we ever got a chance to, ID magic items or do anything spells, he could go back through his notes and look up what purple fez was, which was pretty cool. So I rolled this character, and the stats for this character suck. just god awful stats. I mean, I think you've heard me tell this story before. Like the strength was 4 or 6. No, I remember, I think it was like 6, because my goal was to find the gauntlets of kobold power, because that would get my strength up to 9. So it was like 4 or 6. My strength sucked. Dex was like average. Intelligence was 15. Wisdom was 8. So we knew my character was not one of the great thinkers of our time for common sense wizard. Constitution, I think, was pretty high, but not high enough to get me the bonus. So I think it was like 10 or 11. Because I remember I didn't have the con bonus. And then the charisma was 17. 17. So I was like, if this, I could be a paladin, with a 17 charisma. I don't have the stats. I don't have the stats to be much of anything except a pretty pathetic wizard. So that was the wizard that I made, and I was like, this guy's just such a nerd, he's got like a name like Myron or something. And then I find out that my character had been apprenticed to a gold dragon named Nagadine the Great. And Nagadine had recently dropped a mountain on a city to establish his dominance. It wasn't the same mountain that my character dropped into the last time, because they were in the Forgotten Realms version of Asia, Korator, which is why they met a gold dragon. Oh, look at the golden puppy. Good afternoon. Hi, dog. How are you? So yeah, like, this name is Myron. It's got all these crappy stats. And then I had to randomly roll what spells were in my spell book and how many pages my starting spell book was. And it was like my master, the gold dragon, who sent me off with these adventurers to be their chronicler / token wizard. And I think I started with like one spell. And the spell was detect magic. So I'm a first level wizard. In D&D, back then, where the hit dice was 1d4, I had no con bonus, so of course, I rolled a 1. 1 hit point, strength 6, wisdom 8, charisma 17, nerdy little wizard, stomping around, just comedy gold, just so pathetic that he was comedy gold. I knew he was gonna die. We all knew that he was just a one arrow shot away. So I think I've told you this before. I'm pretty sure I've told you guys this story before. So there I'm at, and then this blonde woman comes in and starts talking to TJ, and I'm introduced to Cynthia Rothrock. Well, there's a name some of you in the martial arts world should know. Cynthia Rothrock. So there we go. 2 world famous martial artists who I didn't know who they were at the time. So we're playing through the first scenario, introducing to the party and their weird quest that they're on, and this bizarre, they have to go around the entire world quest that they're following, and that's why they had to pick me up, because they were hoping a wizard could help them with the quest. But of course I didn't have any spells like identify or anything. I'm just trudging along, and I'm trying to figure out how to supplement my character with a 9 strength or a 6 strength, whose goal was to get a 9 strength. Because there was a comedy item mentioned called the good afternoon dog, the Gauntlets of Kobold Power, which gave you the strength of a kobold, 9. I was like, yes, that's my goal, strength of 9. So we're in this place, dungeon thingy, looking for adventure stuff, trying to get everybody a level, trying to just work up some experience points, especially those of us who are coming in with first level characters. And somehow I got separated. I think somebody triggered a trap and there was like a collapsing wall or whatever, but somehow I'm separated. And I'm going down this hallway, and I'm going up the stairs, and I realize there's something behind me. And I turn around, and it's an ogre. Remember, I have 1 hit point, I'm first level, I'm by myself, and my only spell is detect magic. So I run to the top of the stairs, and I turn the corner, panting with my, 10, 11 constitution. I was almost healthy enough to get the +1, but not quite. And my 8 wisdom, 15 intelligence brain says, I look around, what do I see? he describes the hallway at the top of the stairs, and there's a fountain. And I get this brilliant Saturday morning cartoon Bugs Bunny idea. What if I stop up the fountain and cause it to flood over the stairs? My thinking is I could get the ogre to slip. So I stick my shirt in the fountain to make it flood, so now I'm topless. I go through my bag of gear that I'd been given before I left and hadn't had a, and stuff that the party had given me, and in it I find a bar of soap, because that was about all I could afford. And I think my gear was randomly generated. So yeah, I had some other things, and like, I think a bowl, bar of soap. So I stick the bar of soap in the flooding fountain as the soapy water starts hurling out, and I'm scooping the soapy water onto the stairs. My Saturday morning cartoon Bugs Bunny physics idea is I will push the ogre when he gets to the top of the stairs, and he'll slip on the slippery soapy water and fall to the bottom. Yeah, that sounds totally stupid. There's no way in hell that would ever happen in real life, right? It's an ogre. So I've got this little trickle of water, some soap suds. I'm hiding behind the corner. I wait till the ogre gets to the top of the stairs, and I'm like, I'm gonna die. I got 1 hit point. I'm gonna die. Turn around, push, natural 20. Thump, 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 thump. Snap. Instant level. Single-handedly kills an ogre. Of course, I had to go train because we were still using Adventure Dungeons and Dragons training rules. So even though I had the experience for 2nd level, I couldn't level in the dungeon. I had to train under a higher level wizard. But still, I was like, woo, yeah. So that kind of pretty much galvanized the personality for this wizard. Single-handedly killed an ogre. Low wisdom, high charisma. Just no sense of self-preservation because of the low wisdom. But the charisma is just like, I can do anything. So I started like, he was just this over-the-top pro wrestler of wizards. I modeled him kind of after Ric Flair, he'd be like styling and profiling, the one and only, the champ, Myron, just all huckspah, nothing to back it up, chaotically just charging in the way a wizard should, with just so self-assured that if I killed an ogre, I can kill anything. So that ends the first game, and then that is where I am slowly introduced to who TJStorm is, and they're talking about this thing he just did, and talking about the martial arts and his lifetime association with the martial arts and the California club dance scene. And I'm slowly, over the next couple of weeks, as I'm becoming friends with these guys, learning, oh my god, this dude is somebody, and he knows people like Don the Dragon Wilson we met, Cynthia Rothrock, Zoe Bell, all these important people in the 90s in martial arts and stunt acting, and the early days of voice acting, the early days of motion capture. So yeah, if you can look it up, World Martial Arts Hall of Fame, TJStorm, and my character, and that was of course the beginning of the 15-year-long association that I had with TJ and his Company of the Bull campaign. And the stories of that campaign, the stories of specifically that character, and just the chaotic nonsense that I would get into that character. Like, every time I sat down and played that character, it was always like, I'm not planning anything. I have no plans. Whatever the first idea I come up with, I'm just gonna run with it. That's this character's whole thing. He's kind of insane almost. He's just so self-assured with that 17 charisma that whatever comes his way, he can just, bullshit his way through with his boisterous, larger-than-life Ric Flair professional wrestling personality. And, you know, then I start picking up more spells. Like the second spell I pick up is Find Familiar. So now I'm like, great, Find Familiar, which I can't afford. And Detect Magic. And then like they're all like, we need Identify. So they go out of their way. So now like the third spell I've learned is Identify. Still no combat spells. Finally find a wizard to level me up to second, but of course that costs me all the money I have, because it costs you money to level up back in those rules, right? So now I have 1 hit point. I roll the D4, 3 hit points. I'm like, yeah, 4 hit points, let's go. Is there a fight club? Mind you, I don't know any combat spells and I have an armor class of 9, but yeah. So finally, I learned Magic Missile. Like the end of the third game, I'm still somehow alive. And I learned Magic Missile. In his game, you have to personify what your Magic Missile looks like. Like, is it a flaming hawk? Is it a scroll? And, you know, knowing now what I do about the character, I would have had my Magic Missile look completely different. But I didn't know stuff about the character back then that I now know now. So I just picked the first most ridiculous thing I could think of, and it was Pac-Man. Now, obviously, my character wouldn't have any idea what a Pac-Man was. So we're like, you know, so I'm like, yeah, just a ball, like just a ball that opens its mouth like it's trying to eat the monsters it's crashing into. That's my Magic Missile. So now here's this second level wizard throwing basically Pac-Man, and you can wacka. My 1 Magic Missile a day when I'm feeling really feisty, and the rest of the time I'm just throwing things. You know, that's where the I throw a rock started for me. You know, it's like, well, I can always throw a rock. And as long as I can throw a rock, there's still something I can do in combat. I can always try and trip somebody with my rope. Like, I never wanted my wizard to be useless, because in my mind, he did not see this way. There was always something he was going to be able to do to just somehow pull shit out of the fire. And so for a very long time, till that character got to like 11th level and finally did get killed for the first time, that was how I ran the character. Just totally chaotic, totally borderline self-destructive, just totally silly, over the top. The more ridiculous, the better. If because in my mind, he would think, I'm just going to do this. He had no forethought. You know, that 8 wisdom, which then got dunked down to like 6 because of a cursed item. So I'm like, yeah, this guy just does not think ahead. He's unbelievably gullible, you know. But with his 17 charisma, he totally believes that whatever it is, he can do it. Doesn't matter. So finally, TJ did kill me. Well, I killed myself, because somehow in one sitting of the campaign, I got my hands on not 1, but 2 cursed magic items, and did not know they were cursed magic items. So the first cursed magic item was a gem of monster summoning that I thought was a gem of seeing, because cursed items sometimes default as a different magic item. So I thought I had this magical telescope, and so I'm like, oh, gem of seeing. I look through it, what did I see? And he's like, rolls on the gem of monster summoning table, and he's like, oh, a beholder. I was like, oh, I can see a beholder from that far away. Not that I'd summoned the beholder and it was coming towards me, just wow, I've got a magic telescope, this will never come in handy, of course I take it. And then somehow in the same session, I'd also gotten my hands on a ring of contradiction, which I thought was a ring of flying. So I was attracting monsters to myself without realizing it, and anybody told me I had to contradict and do the opposite. So already I'm pretty chaotic for a character, but now I'm like, you know, actively doing the opposite, and I have to play because he has to tell me what the ring does, even though as a character I don't know what it does and nobody else in the party knows what it does. But in order for me to be contradictory, he has to explain it to me so I can role play the curse. And he's like, you can't act on this. So I'm like, come on, dude. I won't. When have I ever acted on anything that this character knew ahead of time? So anything I'm told, I contradict. I do the opposite, or I argue over it. I try and find another thing to do. So somehow in the process of this 2-3 game session, I got talked into going to talk to the beholder to see if it would be friends with me. And of course, with my 17 charisma and my 6 wisdom and my 11 constitution and my 6 strength, it sounded like a perfectly good idea to me, because I was going to do the opposite of what they told me and try and get the beholder to turn on them and be my friend. It's like, fuck them. The contradictory thing would be to not be friends with the beholder. So I'm trying to, I walk up to the beholder, like, oh, well, I'm the big, I'm 11th level, look at me. Hey, beholder, want to be big? Disintegrate. Roll my saving throw. 1. At this point is when TJ reveals that, hey, remember when you created this character and you rolled on the secret table thing? And I'm like, yeah. Well, turns out you're not a person. You're a construct. That's what you rolled. I rolled the highest thing you could roll on the table. I was a magical incarnation of the gold dragon. I was basically his Seraculum. So all this time I thought I was a living, breathing person. I wasn't. I was basically a golem. So I die, my soul is trapped in my eye, because my eye is actually both a crystal ball and a soul trap stone. So my character's trapped in his own eye. And I have to make up a new character, because there's no way to bring him back. But I also find out that I have a wish later on. But right now it's just, I'm trapped in my eye. I can't communicate with anybody. They all think I'm disintegrated and dead. All that's left in my eye. And one of the other players picks up my eye and be like, ha, I got your eye, Mike. And I'm like, you fucking bastard. And he carries my eye around. Now, I don't know if he knew, or he was just being a jerk, or if he thought maybe sometime we'd be able to resurrect me. So he had my eye in his pocket. I didn't know I had a wish. I just knew that I wasn't dead. My soul was trapped in my eye. I couldn't communicate with anybody. I just had to watch them. And if I was really, really lucky, I could occasionally sort of give them a nudge about how dumb they were being. But most of the time, until I made my new character, I was just hoping that I'd get resurrected or reincarnated or something. But then I make my secondary character and I decide to make the exact opposite character, which is a paladin, which did not work with this party, but I wanted to be the exact opposite of Myron. I wanted to be level-headed, lawful, organized, calm, peaceful, the exact opposite. So I played this paladin for a couple of years, then the paladin sort of retired, and I got the ability to bring Myron back in the body of a kobold. But that's a story for a different time. So there you go, Dungeons and Dragons story time. How I met World Martial Arts Hall of Fame member TJStorm. 100% true. You can look it up if you don't believe me. I'll talk to you later.